Hey guys, Knucklehead here, out on a beautiful afternoon. The sun is out, a little bit of breeze, and I think at last check the temperature was like 83 degrees out, so it doesn't get much better riding weather. But I finally got back from North Carolina. I was away for a couple days welcoming in the newest addition of the family, nice healthy baby boy, to one of the daughters. A bunch of the rest of the family came down. One daughter from Ohio came in, and the son from North Carolina was also there. Gotta love these bumps. Stayed with my mother-in-law, and generally had a really good time. And met the baby, who's nice and healthy. So that was always a wonderful experience. But I figured I realized I haven't done a Who is 47 Knucklehead type video. So I figured give you a little bit of a little insight into who I am. Maybe that helps explain the way I see things. As you can tell, I'm a gray-haired old fart. I've been riding since I was like a teenager, since like 13 or 14. Started out on dirt bikes. Pretty much ridden anything that it's got two wheels. Actually 4 wheels, 6 wheels, or upwards of 18 wheels, but that's another story too. For a while I didn't ride a whole lot, but now I'm pretty much trying to ride anytime I can get a hold of some decent weather that's generally not snowing, but I'll ride in the rain. Like I said, I'm an old fart, so I've been around and pretty much come from a different time. I started off as in a blue-collar family. My father was in World War II and Korean War, and then after he mustered out of the Army and later the Merchant Marines, he settled in the Baltimore area and worked as a steel worker at Best Steel. My mother, for the longest time, was a secretary at Bendix, and then she eventually met my father after being married once before, and became a nurse, a neonatal specialist. So she handled all the little preemie babies. They've unfortunately both since passed on. And I don't know where to comment on that. So anyway, continuing on, I went to public school for probably most of my education, at least early on. Later on, I went to private prep school. Went to West Nottingham Academy. It's the nation's oldest boarding school in the country. It was founded in 1744. And actually 2 of its graduates early on were signers of the Declaration of Independence. So that tells you how old this school's been around. After I got out of WNA, I went to college down in North Carolina, and got a computer science degree. I've pretty much always been fascinated with tinkering around with electronics, mechanical stuff, etc. Radios, the old electronic kits, making, all sorts of weird stuff. And hence my computer. I'd rather just toy and tinker around with something rather than go out and buy it. As far as jobs, I've held a whole bunch of them. I did a big, the thing that a lot of people did way back when. I pitched newspapers to make money, cut lawns, crap like that. I've worked for the Maryland State Police for 7 years, and hell, even for a short time, I was a fabric cutter in a textile mill. because but back before I got a real, another real job, I had to put food on the table somehow. So I used to cut fabric to make bedspreads and shit down in North Carolina. After that, I pretty much signed on with a company up in Maryland, and for the past 25 years I've been working at that one company. Pretty much what would be affectionately called the director of computer operations, but generally if it's got a processor of some type in it, it falls under my domain. We generally make communications gear for TV stations and law enforcement. So it's a pretty niche little market, but make damn good money, and I don't have to wear a uniform or a suit and tie or any shit like that anymore. So that's always a plus for me. Anyway, I guess about a little over a year ago, as I got my first GoPro. Before that, I was always doing photography and video. Way back in high school, I was in the photography club and yearbook, and I would actually develop my own black and white film, which was always interesting because back then you had to be sure you had a decent shot when you were setting things up, because loading your own film or developing each of 24 frames was a royal pain in the butt. But I've always been into photography and such, so I've been doing digital photography for a while. And with cameras and such, I've been doing videography. So this was even way back before GoPro was probably even invented, using various cameras and such. But a year ago, a year ago is when I got my first GoPro, and I did that mainly so I could have better videos for when I do the veterans escorts for honor flight. But then I sort of discovered motovlogging and sort of fell into it. Probably started doing that maybe, I don't know, 7-8 months ago, and just been hooked ever since. Actually, the funny part is, one of the chat boards I was on is where a YouTube sensation who goes by the name of Tyler Oakley got his start, being sort of a YouTube person and making jokes and all sorts of weird stuff that Tyler does. Now he's pretty much independently wealthy and just makes a ton of YouTube videos. But that's sort of in the small world campaign. The town I grew up in was a little dink place called Catonsville. Interesting thing with Catonsville, literally probably about 5 doors down from me, there's a world famous guitarist who goes by the stage name John Christ. He was the lead guitarist in a metal band called Danzig, probably back in the late 90s, 2000s. Also, Catonsville has been pretty much music central. There's been Joan Jett and the Blackhearts got started down there. I think Zappa was around Towson or something like that. But also in the street I grew up with, a little bit further down, was the nephew of famous Baltimore filmmaker John Waters. Little Brookie Yaton. Aside from palling around with Brookie way back in the day, who knows John Waters, he married a rather famous woman, which you may or may not know, depending on how old you are. Goes by the name Tracy Lords. She did a ton of porn, and you probably can't find most of her stuff now because it was discovered that she was actually like 16 or 17 when she was doing her porn movies. She lied about her age, so I guess now technically all that shit's classified as kiddie porn, but that was back in the day. Anyway, so that's sort of the area I grew up in. Now I'm out in the Columbia and Ellicott City area of Maryland, which is just outside of Baltimore to the west, but not so far west and south that I hit DC, although I spent a good deal of time in DC. So that pretty much summarizes you know, what I'm doing, where it came from, and hopefully, you know, I'll get 10, 20, 30 million subscribers, you know, just riding around talking shit on YouTube videos and get paid you know, $100 million a year. Like that's really gonna happen. But anyway, that's a little bit about the Knucklehead. As always, if you got any questions or comments, definitely feel free to hit the comment button below this video. Like it if you like it, dislike it if you don't. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give me a little direction on what the hell you guys want to see, both now and in the future. Anyway, Knucklehead out.